Hello. So today we're going to be going over probably a fun game. This is a scuttle puddle game and it's going to end up being a Varus game. If you saw from the thumbnail, some crazy stuff's going to happen in this game. But in general, when we're playing around different carries, I tend to like Varus a lot these days. I feel like it's one of the more stable boards that gives you a really good like Varus pumps out so much damage that especially if somebody misses, even during a reroll, if they miss their board, he's a very punishing unit, right? In the sense that he basically can wipe a board out. He has very high DPS, and I think that you have like it's like a very strong and stable 4-cost board. So I typically like to play towards it because I enjoy it. Here for silver augments, Patience of Virtue. I tried it out. I don't know if the stats are good on this. In PvE, it felt really good, but I'm not sure if I'll get super punished for taking it here and committing to a reroll. I'm doing a quick scout, seeing what everybody else is playing. I always try and find the niche line that people aren't playing. Sometimes I'm punished for it. A lot of times I'm just trying my best to not be like in that whole contest. Spoils of War is really good, right? Spoils of War typically, like Spoils of War used to be like an augment that you really only take if you were insanely strong at the start of a game. Here I should be putting in Lilia. Oh god. Come on, switch out, switch out, switch out, switch out. Please, 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 please. Oh, I don't notice it. Come on, you can do it. I'm sad with myself. Anyways, what I was gonna say is that typically in the past you wouldn't take Spoils of War because or you usually only took Spoils of War if you had like a really strong start, because Spoils of War basically is like if you kill units you gain extra loot, and there's a small percentage chance, especially with silver Spoils of War. The thing is, econ is so important in this set that a lot of times you really want to just maximize as much econ as possible. I'm pretty sure I won this game if I won this round if I put in Lilia. If I don't notice the Lilia now, yeah, I think I noticed it now. A lot of these videos I do while I'm streaming and I'm live, so you know, you can stop by and say hi. Sometimes it's not like the best experience because like, you know, I'll be tilted, or you know, like you're getting me in like the raw state instead of me just like, you know, you get me after having gone 5-7 5-7 5-7 playing uncontested comps and just not hitting and being sad. But you know, the YouTube experience is always going to be me in a more cheery, happy mood, just enjoying and looking back and loving the game of TFT, because I get to watch myself how I won games and learn from the experience as well. So, you know, that's the more fun part for me, is always like the learning and figuring out stuff. But anyways, because I'm Spoils of War, I'm considering playing Kog'Maw reroll, right? Like I said, with Spoils of War, you typically want to be strong earlier. The stronger you are in the early game, the better value you get off of Spoils of War, right? Because with Spoils of War, if you kill more units, you get more econ. Econ's really important in this set. I was talking about that, I trailed off and said something else because what was happening in the game, right? But the reason that Spoils of War helps out a lot, or econ augments are really important, is because charms cost money. The main set mechanic is that you have charms, and charms are the way you increase your strength, and they cost money as well. So in order to hit your board, level up, and do all of this stuff like that you need to play like normal TFT where money needs to be managed, you also have to factor in that you need additional money to buy charms to interact with the main set mechanic, or else you'll fall behind. Other people will win more fights than you, they'll get combat, they'll get resources like anvils, duplicators, things like that. So it's really, econ augments are starting to become really prevalent in the meta, right? There's some augments like Pfeiffer, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's with a PF, so it's like a pff sound in front of it. Not sure exactly how that one's pronounced, but the idea is that what's it called, augments where you get like a certain amount of gold every single round helps you, because not only does it help you establish the econ, a lot of times like econ sometimes is wasted, especially if you like level up and then you don't know what to do with it, and then like, you know, there's like this gap where it's like, should I level to 8 or should I level to 9 or should I level to 10, and it's like, where do you waste your gold type of situation. But in this set, a lot of times you can stay on level 8 or you can stay on level 9 as long as you hit like a stable board that all your synergies are good and there's nothing else that makes you like significantly stronger, and you can just roll for charms. So there's always a use for gold, and a lot of the like the really insane charms are more expensive. There's charms where you gain a spatula too, right? All sorts of crazy stuff. So that's why augments like this I usually end up taking, even if my spot isn't the greatest. Now Tristana, this is why I was upset with myself. The fight that I lost here, I pretty much almost definitely won if I put in the Lilia. That's a huge mistake by me. If you don't know, Tristana 1 with Fairy Crown and like one other item is very strong for stage 2 a lot of the time. Like, this is an insanely strong board for what it is, and having this it's very easy to synergize with the Tristana. I tried playing Tristana reroll. She does fall off quite a bit towards the late game, so it's a little bit difficult to like justify like going for Tristana 3 if you're not playing like one of those Kog'Maw 2 healthy reroll setups. And Fairy in general, stacking vertical Fairy is pretty bad. Just a lot of the Fairy units are pretty underwhelming, and they don't synergize well with each other, so you just find like yourself with like this giant shit board, which isn't very good. But Fairy Crown is like a really strong item, so it's just basically gives Tristana like an insanely strong item. And then giving her an extra item like Guinsoo really makes her just do a bunch of damage. Here, this guy has a Blaster Crest, so I'm going to be contested Blasters, so I don't even want to play Tristana reroll. This guy's just a little bit stronger than me. It's unfortunate. So I lose my... I'm not streaking with my gold anyways, so I really want to make sure that I try and make as many econ thresholds as possible, right? All these units I want to hold on to, right? I have Kog'Maw, I have Tristana. I'm debating if I play Kog'Maw over the Tristana. It basically comes down to Tristana with Fairy Emblem, or I can play Kog'Maw and then I have 3 Honeymancy. It's just that Guinsoo isn't that great of a Kog'Maw item in general, so I'd prefer not to. Here, obviously, because I'm not sure if I'm gonna play Kog'Maw reroll yet. I'm not guaranteed to play Kog'Maw reroll. There's somebody that's playing Blasters, so I know that if I play Tristana reroll, that's gonna be an issue because they always have the potential to hold those indefinitely. But at least for me, because Kog'Maw reroll is so strong, I kind of want to hold on to these Kog'Maws if I can. So that's why I'm not making econ here, right? I'm holding on to the Nunu, I'm holding on to the Kog'Maw, because you know these could be valuable units for later in the game when I stabilize. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. I think this guy could have even won if I positioned a little bit better, right? If my Tristana got on the Nomsy first, I'm pretty sure I win this fight. And this fight I definitely would have won if I put in Lilia. I just didn't recognize that she was in my shop. That was like a huge fumble. So my stage 2, not necessarily the best stage 2, let's be honest. Here I'm looking at this guy's board. He had Keepers, and I think originally I wasn't sure what he's going to play with Keepers. In retrospect, now I've looked at the stats on Keepers after games like this. When I VOD reviewed them. Keepers is just generically really good as a silver augment, just for like other frontline boards, right? Playing Keepers, especially with shapeshifters, shows up as being really good in the stats. So I've been starting to take Keepers like almost always. Like every single game that I have the chance, if I see silver Keepers, it's one of the better silver augments you can take in a lot of cases just to help your front line. And here we go. This is what I was saying with flexible, right? So this is what I was saying with usually I'm flexible or try to be flexible. My items are pretty good, right? I have a bunch of swords. Guinsoo isn't necessarily the best item for this dude, but guess what? I can just totally play towards Varus here, right? Roll the dice, we get 6 gold, I'm down. Kog'Maw's contested, and the other guy's playing Kog'Maw. You know, maybe if I was on stream, I'd probably be upset at this point because I was contested like almost all of these games, so I'm just sad. I make Shojin IE, right? Now we'll take a small interlude. We're just going to see what the augment is first, and then I'm going to show you the board and structure it, as well as some stats on the items, so you guys have a better idea of what to build for Varus, so that we can kind of play around this Varus board. But basically right now, I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm just committed to Varus. I level for the Varus. After Tristana, I'm going to leave the Guinsoo on Tristana, because if you look at the damage at the end of the fight, hopefully I show it. Oh, I didn't show it, because I have this guy open for some reason. But Tristana does do a lot of damage. Probably does almost as much damage as Varus at this point. So I'm basically just going to pivot. I'm going to play towards like a 4-blaster Varus style comp. Here we had Pandora's bench. Pandora's bench, the stats aren't great on it. But Pandora's bench, it used to be one of the most broken and atrocious augments in set like 9 when it was an augment. And they removed it from the past couple sets, right? They put it back in now. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm going to be real with you guys. Sometimes I take this shit and I hit nothing with it, and it's like the worst game ever, and I want to punch a hole through my monitor, right? Not like actually, I'm just like, you know, figuratively, like I'm just like sad and upset, right? Other times, this shit just pops off and you just win the game for free. I think today I was playing a game and a guy hit Briar 3 on level 8. That video is going to come out soon. It's going to come out at one point. Because, you know, that's like its own entertaining video. I didn't hit it, but somebody else did. And Briar threw on level 8 with Pandora's bench. I don't even know how. I think they probably hit like a charm and a duplicator. Maybe had like a 3-star 4 cost and then they like made it into Briar. Like, I don't know. But like, holy shit. Like, it was, I was like, I was livid. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, this guy, I think he's ended up playing blasters as well. So I'm going to be like giga contested on this comp, which kind of sucks. He has a Gwinsu on Varus, which I don't think is that good. But we'll double check the stats. Guess what though? We hit a Nasus as well. So we're kind of smooth sailing right now. So it turned out that like I'm not playing towards like Syndra, Cassiopeia, like meta comps like that everybody says is broken. I'm trying to play like off meta and play Varus, and it looks like it's gonna be like a 3-way Varus contest, which is so funny to me. And I hate games like this that happen because it's like, look, I could have just reroll. If I wanted to be contested, I could have just committed Kog'Maw instead, right? I could have just like rerolled Kog'Maw with Pandora's and just like contest the Kog'Maw player, and I probably would place better than contesting with Varus. But either way, I feel like my spot's good for it, which is why I'm committing to this line and not the other lines. Let's go through. Let's go here. Sorry, I need to reset my music. Let's first go over the board. So let me show stats. Let me pull it up here. Let's go. Team builder. So your board typically looks something like this. You typically play like 3 pyro. So you play around Shen, Nasus, and Varus. And then you'll usually fit in like a Bastion, but you usually play like 4 blaster with the Varus. So you'll play something like this. Then you'll play, where is, I'm looking for Rumble. I can't find Rumble. I'm so bad. Okay, Rumble, and then Shyvana, and then +1. But usually you play something like this. Usually you could drop the Rumble as well. It depends if you have a spat or not, but you play something around this board, right? You really want to, a lot of times you don't have Smolder yet, so you'll play without the Smolder. But typically you want to play, you can play Varus with Ezreal, with Hui, with Smolder, right? Smolder and Shyvana gives you Dragon. Dragon gives you anti-heal. Anti-heal basically it makes your opponents like heal less HP. Anti-heal is really important, and it's usually something you have to prioritize making in the form of an item or augment. When you have Dragon as a free trait that gives it in, Shyvana provides your Nasus, which is going to be your main tank, with the support that it needs for Shapeshifter, right? Shen you play usually with a Bastion, so let's just put in Taric or Diana because they're both like the really strong Bastions. But let's just say we play Taric instead. You'll have a board similar to this, and then Rumble is just like an extra frontline unit because usually you have enough damage and you just want to make sure your Varus is safe. But this is with 5 blaster. You can drop out any of these blasters. A lot of times you won't have Smolder until later. But on level 8, you're basically playing like a 4 blaster board that looks something like this. Obviously, you're very flexible because you can also drop down to 2 blaster, right? You literally don't have to play anything, and you just like stack vertical front line. You can lose the Rumble, and you can just play Ezreal to have like a dual carry in the back line. It's very flexible. I think the best version of the board is playing it like this. This. Where's Hui? Wait. I like playing it like this, where you have Shyvana, you have Taric, you have Nasus, you have Shen. And then your backline, you have Ezreal, Hui, Varus. Because it's really easy to like position. If you have more backline units, it's a little bit easier for you to deal with like units that dive the backline like Akali. Because you can kind of bait towards the Akali with your backline units instead of being stuck with just one. Especially when there's wrapping units. The Smolder is really essential because basically it gives you Dragon, which gives you the anti-heal. And then the thing is, like, you can basically just roll with this board on level 8 if you're unable to go level 9. And you can just stick with these units, and it's pretty reliable. Varus does a huge explosive amount of damage. Ezreal hits multiple units. So if you get 8, basically you always want to make Varus items, which I think the best Varus items are something like, even though you have the anti-heal from Smolder, you probably might not hit Smolder until later. Red buff is really good on Varus in the stats. So a lot of times you just end up making red buff this and where is it, IE. We'll talk about like item builds when we go into the stats for Varus just to see like what the best things are, because some things were outdated, some things are getting updated, so I like to stay up to date and say, hey, this is what it looks like right now. If you get AP items, right? What you can do is you can itemize Hui, right? A lot of times you'll get AP items and you'll be like, oh, this is really bad. Smolder, usually you want a Gwinsu on Smolder. Smolder really scales well with attack speed. And Ezreal, you usually want like giga damage, right? You want like IE. I think Ezreal, like, this is like double IE. You just want to make sure that he guarantees like crits and one-shots with his cast. Hui, you can make like Rabadons. Basically any rod or tier item, you just can slam onto Hui. And as you can see, so then all your frontline items, you can go on Nasus, right? A lot of times I like making something like Protector's Vow. Well, maybe Protector's Vow isn't essential, but it's usually something like, you know, Giga Healing, Giga HP, something like, probably like this, right? Warmogs, Declaw, Bramble. But as you can see, you have a use for pretty much every component in the game. If you get tiers, swords, gloves, you make your Varus items. If you get extra tiers and gloves, extra swords and gloves, you can make Ezreal items and dual Ezreal. If you get rods, tiers, you can make Hui items. And whatever remains, you can make frontline items, right? If you get belts, if you get chainmails, if you get cloaks. So the comp has a lot of opportunity for you not to miss on your items, which is why I like this comp a lot. You have a lot of opportunity to fix up your board. It also scales into late really well because Pyro basically gives attack speed to everybody, which attack speed can be used by everybody on the board and is one of the most broken stats you can get. So you can scale as well. You also don't have to push levels in this style of comp. If you push levels, then you can play some sort of wacko board where you play around other units. And additionally, let's say you get like more frontline items and you're like in a little bit of a pickle. What you could do is you could just play like a Giga frontline, especially if like you realize that your frontline isn't stable enough. You can play around Rumble as the 4th blaster and play like a Tom Kench, right? Now you're basically rolling for so many different frontline units that whoever you hit, you itemize, right? Even if it's not the Nasus that you itemize, you can itemize the Terek, you can itemize the Tom Kench, you can itemize the Shen or the Rumble. Right, you have a lot of points of stability, even Shyvana. You have a lot of points of stability with your front line as well because you have this Rumble that works as a frontline unit but also buffs the damage. Now, like I said before, I don't think 4 Blaster is that important. I don't think 6 Blaster is that important, but it does help if you have multiple Blasters that are all doing damage and helping to pull the weight. Right, that's like the main idea behind it. It's very good. If we go in terms of stats and Explorer, let's just go Varus 2. Let's go traits, right? I think with Blaster, you'll see like 4 Blaster is typically like plus Delta. It's just like because a lot of times like that board, you usually lack either frontline or you lack damage. I'm just showing you like the different opportunities. A lot of times you're either pushing for 6 Blaster or you're playing 4 Blaster. It's not the highest average comp in the game, so it's a little bit awkward. It's just like the items are a bit weird now because I think you want like kind of like attack speed. See, like a lot of times, like before the build was always like Shojin, Infinity Edge. Like this is what I thought the build was, Shojin IE. And then if you look at the Delta, it's like a second IE or a Last Whisper. So I thought usually people would always make Shojin, Infinity Edge, Last Whisper. But now if you look at the stats, it's usually just better to give him a bunch of bow items instead of like building him to make like one shot. As you can see, it's like Runans is really good, Red Buff is really good. Obviously these are small sample sizes, so take them with a grain of salt. Deathblade's really good, Giant Slayer is really good, right? But like the Shojin Nashers that are, or the Shojin IE build, which is like the more common one, and like other stuff is not as good anymore, right? They're more plus Delta. So it's a little bit, so I'm not exactly sure what the build is, but at the time when I checked the stats, it was Shojin, Infinity Edge, and then I think in this game I'm going to do something silly. I'm going to make double IE because I said, okay, it's my best performing item that I have left to make, because in the stats that's what it showed when I did it. So that's the thought process for it. Let's go back to the game. We're somewhere in stage 4. Let's go up a little bit further back. So I took a spat and I took You Have My Bow. This is the augment that I took here, right? I have Pandora's. I'm just rolling 4 and 5 costs, right? The reason Pandora's is really good here is because basically I'm just rolling for a Smolder, right? Pandora's bench, it's really good for reroll, but it's also really good if you have a comp that you require a certain 5 cost or 4 cost, right? With this comp, I require a Smolder to make my board really, really strong. So as you can see here, I'm playing 5 Pyro variation. I didn't mention this one, but you can basically play a Kali if you have a spat. I got a spat off Carousel a little bit earlier in the game. I didn't mention it, but I'll mention it now because I forgot. And I make a 5 Pyro, right? 5 Pyro is really, really strong with Varus because it gives an execute, right? Basically, when you're playing 5 Pyro, if the units drop below a certain amount of health, they'll just die. Obviously, the board I'm playing is a little bit strong, but we're basically just rolling. We want to hit a Smolder, right? Smolder will give us anti-heal with the Shyvana, and we're also rolling to upgrade our Varus as well as our Nasus. Up until now, we're pretty good. We're not too concerned with anything in terms of like itemizations and all of that. Our Guinsoo and our Pyro Crest will just put on our Smolder, and that'll be totally fine. A bunch of attack speed with the Guinsoo on Smolder, it's going to be really good once we hit the Smolder. Here, I'm going to take the sword because I want to make another Varus item. Sword's pretty good to make a Varus item. I'm probably just going to make double IE if I can. And yeah, we're one off both of these units, so I'm probably going to roll pretty aggressively here because stabilizing around either of them is going to be good. So yeah, we're probably gonna roll a little bit. I have Pandoras though, so I might not roll that deep because I'll be able to play here. This is what, for 1 gold I basically got 2% attack speed for my whole team permanently. A lot of times with how do I phrase it, with the with the charms, you have to always take into account, even if a charm is really cheap, all the charms that are temporary buffs are scary to take, because like you take a temporary buff, it's good for like 1 or 2 turns, but then eventually it's worth nothing, right? So it might win you a fight. If that fight wins you a gold, then it makes sense, right? But if you don't want to spend a bunch of gold on charms just for the hell of it, because you know you might run yourself into a spot where you're wasting too much of your gold. Here I'm playing against reroll multi-strikers with the multi-striker whatever augment this is, I forget what it's called, plus featherweights. Yeah, that's not good. Bisakali, Hodge, IE, it's not that great. That's not good for me. But I hit a Smolder, right? So now Smolder gives me anti-heal. So, like I said, I remember I was showing you the itemizations. I was saying usually you want Last Whisper on Varus because like it helps him in like directing the damage. The way my items worked out, I actually have Even Shroud, so I have armor reduction on my Nasus, right? So I don't need to make Last Whisper for Varus. I also have anti-heal in the form of Dragon, so I don't want to necessarily like greed towards making an anti-heal item. I don't need to make a Morello. I don't need to make anything like that. So I'm just looking for like what's the most damage I can get on this Varus. Obviously I don't have a bow item, so I'm probably gonna make something around this sword. Remember I looked at the stats. Double IE, it seems weird. I've seen it done on certain units before, right? Double IE isn't the worst thing ever, because if you have 100% crit chance, it just gives you more crit damage. And with Varus, you really want to have like that explosive damage. You want when Varus does his like jump up and does his cast that he just wipes out the whole board, right? It's a very, very important thing. Pandora's gave me my Nasus 2, so we're pretty happy about that. Now, I'm not really trying to cheese the game, right? When you have Pandora's bench and you're playing around a 4-cost board, a lot of times you can basically just keep rolling to try and hit as many 4-cost units as possible, then reroll the 4-cost units, right? Because when you on Pandora's bench, if you have a 2-star unit, it'll roll into another 2-star unit. So a lot of times it's more efficient, and instead of wasting your gold leveling, you just use your gold to continually roll for 4-costs. You hold a bunch of 4-costs on your bench, then out the pool. When you get upgrades to those 4-costs, you basically put them here, and you make sure that they roll into more and more expensive 4-costs. Here, I'm just rolling for a Smolder 2, right? I'm trying to roll the 5-cost into a Smolder. I'm also like, don't have that. I need a little bit of frontline stability, so I want to roll this. Obviously, I can switch this Nunu. I probably forgot about her, like for a better a better Bastion, but it's fine. I'm kind of more concerned with. Finding a Shen. Right, a Shen 2 is pretty big. I'm 5 Pyro, so I do have the Execute. Even my Smolder has Execute, so I'm not too worried about a lot of these boards, right? You might look at these boards and think to yourself, oh my gosh, multi-strikers are really bad. The thing with having an Execute with 5 Pyro is that like a lot of times melee carries, they'll try and like drain tank, or they'll try and live until like the last possible second. As you see, the people are just getting deleted, right? 18% health Execute is huge, because if you get like one big cast off, they basically just die. They die for free because the Execute comes in. So it makes a lot of those like melee units, a lot of those like really tanky front lines just disappear instantly, and everything's great. I'm gathering a lot of cinders as well, because obviously like the Execute with the Varus and the Smolder helps scale me with the attack speed, so I'm getting all these cinders. Because I'm so rich, I'm just going level 9 here. right? I don't really see a reason to like rely on Pandora to try and hit like a Giga 3-star 3-star 4 cost and like win the game in like a stylish fashion. I kind of want to win the game by just like leveling. I can play one more blaster. I know I said 4 blaster is not that good with Varus, but in this situation, I have a smolder with 5 pyro and I'm leveling, so it helps out everybody, right? It especially helps out the smolder, right? Having 4 pyro with the having 5 pyro, 4 blaster smolder is really big because smolder is mostly an auto attacker, and the way blaster works is that it makes you have the damage amp when you're attacking, right? For like a short window after doing your ult cast. So smolder will get like a huge damage amp by having the 4 blaster in. You can obviously play 6 blaster, but then I think my front line's gonna suffer too much, so I don't want to necessarily play towards that. I should probably roll 4 costs anyways though. Here I just level because I want to fit in the blaster. I'm protecting a 3 streak, right? A 4 streak you get +1 gold. So in my head I'm thinking like it's a good point right now to level, so I level for that. Obviously because I have Pandora, I'm going to hold on to some of these units. I'm rolling a little bit. I got to upgrade the Shyvana. Hello? There we go. We got the Shyvana. And I'm rolling the 5 cost to get the Smolder upgrade, right? I'm not trying to level, and I'm not trying to roll into all of the 4 costs that I want to roll into. Instead, I want to roll into the 5 cost because that's a more stable solution. Also, I forgot to mention there's this blaster player. I think he's going to die now, and maybe that changes my perspective on things, right? When this guy dies, then I'm much more inclined to play towards the Varus, Nasus, try and hit those ones as an upgrade. Right, the win con of Pandora's, it's very unlikely, despite how often it might occur in people's games. It very rarely works out for me, so I'd rather just make sure that I'm as strong as possible and guarantee my placements by having a Smolder 2, rather than like start rolling on 8, getting a bunch of 4 costs, trying to hit the 4 cost 3-star, because sometimes that never happens, right? And then when it doesn't happen, what do? You just kind of lose the game. Here I'll just take a frontline item for sure. No reason to take anything else. Scout out a little bit. Obviously there's the multi-striker players that are really strong. I think that Nunu, I don't know if it's the hero augment Nunu, but we'll see. Pandora's isn't really rolling into Smolders. I might end up rolling at one point, but I can probably chill for a little bit, just econ up, because I don't really have a reason to like strictly find the Smolder right now. Finally, I get rid of the Nunu and I play the Bastion, or I play a better Bastion. Having Terrakin, I probably rolled past so many Terraks, which would have been a lot better earlier. Here, it's like I reroll my item because I don't really need Sparks, so it's like maybe I can make like a Giga Tank item for Shen. But instead, I just end up with a another Even Shroud, which is fine, right? It just helps, like, you know, in case one of my Even Shrouds dies, I have another Even Shroud to reduce the armor, make sure my team does maximum damage. And yeah, I didn't really get AP items ever, so I don't have a reason to play Hui. I have this Ezreal just do some extra damage. Pretty substantial still, right? A lot of the extra blasters are doing some extra work for me, so I'm totally down. But it does look like a really... I'm win streaking. This is like the scariest moment when you're win streaking and you have Pandoras and you just have the option of like playing around like high cap board. This is where things become scary because now I'm econing up. At one point, I'll be able to roll down and maybe hit some sort of 3-star 3-star 4 cost. You know, nudge, nudge, if you saw the thumbnail of this video. Here I'm just rolling. I'm rolling a little bit for a Smolder, right? It's kind of ridiculous. I'm also rolling for maybe like a 5-star upgrade because, like, you know, let's say I hit Briar 2, then I can reroll the Briar 2 into a Smolder 2, right? I'm kind of like, I'm probably talking on stream the way I'm hovering over this. I'm probably talking about how like, oh, I haven't hit a Smolder yet. I've been rolling these 5 costs for like an entire stage, which is true. So I'm losing a lot of value, obviously. I could be rolling 4 costs and collecting Varuses, collecting Nasus. But realistically, it's probably better for me to just play like this. This guy dies now. Another person down, which is great. Also, I have this lesser duplicator. It's because of Spoils of War. That's why Spoils of War is really good with rerolls a lot of the time. You get these extra duplicators very often. Finally, I hit a Smolder, which is great. Reroll another 5 costs. Hopefully, I can hit a Smolder 2. Smolder 2 is such a huge spike for me. If you look at the damage output, a lot of times the Smolder is almost as high as the Varus or very close to the Varus. And that's only with 2 items, right? Well, 1 item and Pyro Crest, right? So I'm going to put the other Pyro emblem on him. Or I'm going to put another item on him, and then with the Pyro execute because of the emblem. The smolder is gonna be really, really strong. Smolder does so much damage. Look here, see? Well, this is because the smolder got the execute off, right? When you see this true damage, like the white bar on the damage, it means that that's the execute, because the execute counts as true damage, right? Here I need to like grab these items, but I don't want to sell any of these units, so yeah. Runans is probably fine, right? Runans snipe with the an attack speed, right? I'm kind of down. Any frontline item is probably good. Redemption is great here, because Redemption basically adds some extra healing to my frontline, which could help it out a lot. But yeah, we're just gonna roll for... I'm basically rolling for Smolder 2 now. I don't want to like waste too many rounds and give people too many chances to cap out their boards. I really want to make sure that I punish a lot of the players because my board is so strong. I'm also scaling with pyro, but like I don't want to like leave the game too like open-ended, if that makes sense, right? I want to make sure that I'm as strong as possible, because I don't want any of these boards to randomly like roll down, hit some kind of giga crap, get to level like 9, level 10, cap out their board really high. It's really scary, right? I'm seeing that people are holding on to 4 cost now. This is where I'm kind of having that oh shit moment where I should have probably just rolled for Varus and stuff. I got a duplicator. I forget how. Did I get this off of Augment, or did I get off of the thing? When did I get this duplicator? Oh, I got off the thing. It was a gold orb drop. Ah, I see. I got a duplicator. Okay, so I got this duplicator for free from the crab. I'm pretty sure. Ah, that makes sense. Okay, I was wondering where it came from, because I was VOD reviewing this before, but I just looked at the ending, because I had to make a clip for my YouTube channel, right, when I hit the Giga Varus. So let's just skip ahead, because we already saw this fight. Here we go. So I'm basically rolling for Smolder 2. I want to make sure that I win the game, right, even if I don't hit anything crazy. I'm looking around. This guy's holding a bunch of units, scares the shit out of me. So I'm just looking of what to hold. Tarek is good. I used the lesser duplicate on Shen. I should have done that a while ago. I finally hit the Smolder upgrade, which is great. And now I'm going to switch these to rolling for 4 costs, right? Because there's no need for me to roll for 5 costs anymore because I have the Smolder. We look here. This guy's holding basically like every 4 cost. I don't know why. I think it's Pandora. I think he's Pandora's as well, right? Yeah, he's Pandora's as well, so he's rolling for something. The thing is, with 5 pyro, I've already scaled for most of the game. I'm 5 pyro, 4 blaster, Smolder 2 now. I'm pretty sure I'm stronger than everybody, especially if they're melee units, right? Pyro into melee units is pretty much impossible to win for the melee units, because the whole point of melee units is that they try and drain tank. They try and absorb damage, then they cast their ult, they heal a bunch, and they do that like exchange. Right? They do that exchange of like, okay, I'm going to take damage, then I'm going to heal damage, I'm going to take damage, I'm going to heal damage, right? But if you have an execute, they take damage and they fucking die. That's what happens a lot of the time. You don't have that same threshold to play around with where you can be like 1 HP and then like get your cast off and just win the game, right? Or win the fight. So here I'm just rolling everything. Reroll shop was all 4 costs. It's probably useful here. I saw the Tarek. I'm holding on to these Olafs because I saw somebody was holding 2 Olaf, but I think that was just a Pandora's bench guy just re-rolling Pandora's bench, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just a Pandora's bench guy re-rolling Pandora's bench, so I don't need to hold these Olafs, but I was a little bit stressed about it. I should probably use this because I'm going for Varus 3. This guy's holding Callista, so I need to find Callistas as well. So I'm pretty sure I identified this at one point. Here we go. See, so I freeze the shop. I use the reroll and I freeze the shop. The reason I freeze the shop is because of the Callista, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the Callista now to make sure that I don't, to make sure that I deny this guy of being able to hit Callista 3. Because I don't want anything. As you can see, there's 2 Callistas in shop. It means that he's completely locked out. It's guaranteed. I'm 1 Varus off because I have the champ duplicator. So yeah, a lot of times I forget that when I have a duplicator that I'm only 1 off. So right now I'm wasting all this time. I should be rolling for Varus, right? Like I should just be giga rolling for Varus, and yeah, we hit. So guess what? GG. Varus 3. So yeah, I don't even think Pandora's helped that much, right? I found most of the Varuses on my own. I think I got like 2 of them off of Pandora's. So it wasn't like a Pandora's hit Varus 3 in the same sense of like I was aiming for it. But it's just because I had so much gold that I got so far ahead. that's the way this comp kind of works. It kind of snowballs really heavily, especially if you have like a pyro +1. I would say like this comp is probably hard forceable if you have a pyro +1 because of how strong it is. If I didn't have pyro +1, obviously there's some other options I could have played around, but in general, pretty fun game. Pretty nice game. There wasn't, I think this lobby didn't have a Syndra player. Am I mistaken? I feel like my game would have been so much harder if there was a single person playing Syndra. It's so funny when there's no Syndra players in the lobby. Instead, we had contested multi-strikers. And this guy played Callista. It just so worked out that nobody got dropped to Syndra early and nobody wanted to commit towards Syndra, which is so silly and funny. But that's like that's part of the reason why this comp worked out so well. I'm pretty sure I got railed by Syndra every single time. But either way, hopefully that was an informative Varus game. Hopefully it gave you some ideas of how to play towards Varus. It's very flexible. There's a lot of options to swap out and play different units based on what you see, right? If you need more frontline, you play more frontline. If you need more backline, you can play more backline. Get AP items. You know, you can always play towards Hui. You can roll deep on 8, right? Get Ezreal 3, Hui 3 as a win con. Get Shen 3 as a win con, right? Like there's a lot of like things you can roll for to strengthen your board by a long shot. That can also help you out by a lot. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hopefully that was enjoyable, and yeah, have fun. See you around.